help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, I tracked my wife's location just for fun, and what I saw next in that hotel room destroyed me. But that wasn't even the worst part. I wasn't planning on checking her location. Honestly, it had been months since I'd even thought about that app. But that afternoon, something just didn't feel right. Laura kissed me goodbye like always. She said she was off to a weekend marketing seminar in Chicago. She even packed the usual. Business casual outfits, laptop, her old black suitcase. But her smile, it felt different, almost rehearsed. After she left, I sat on the couch for nearly an hour, trying to shake the weird tension in my chest, but it wouldn't go away. Out of pure impulse, I opened the Find My app on my phone. The little blue dot was not heading toward the airport or the city. It was moving south, toward a smaller town called Elmhaven, not exactly known for its business conferences. At first, I told myself there had to be a mistake. Maybe she left something at home and turned around. Maybe there was a layover or anything that made sense. But 5 minutes later, the pin settled. Laura was checked into a 3-star hotel just off the freeway. That's when the chill ran down my spine. We'd been married for 6 years. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but she had never lied about where she was going. The app said she was in Elmhaven in no convention center, no seminar listed on their website, just basic rooms, free parking, and a no questions asked front desk. I stared at the screen, heart racing. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it either. And before I realized what I was doing, I was grabbing my keys. If I was wrong, I'd just drive back. But if I was right, I had to know. And deep down, I already did. Keep watching, because what I found inside that hotel room shattered everything I thought I knew about my marriage. In the next chapter, what I saw when I pulled into the parking lot made my stomach drop. The drive to Elmhaven felt like it lasted forever. Even though it was barely an hour, my hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly I could barely feel my fingers. The entire ride, my mind kept swinging between denial and fury, back and forth like a wrecking ball inside my chest. The moment I pulled into the Elmhaven Inn parking lot, my stomach clenched. Laura's car was there, parked neatly in the corner, away from the main entrance, like she didn't want it to be seen. I killed the engine and just sat there for a moment, watching the entrance. People walked in and out, carrying luggage, talking on phones, like this was just another quiet evening. But to me, it felt like the world had stopped. I needed to be sure. I needed to see her face. So I went to the front desk. I told the clerk I was looking for my wife, Laura Hensley. I expected him to deny me any info, but he just nodded and said, "Room 214, second floor, end of the hall." I froze. No questions, no ID, just like that. Either I looked that desperate, or this wasn't the first time someone came here looking for answers. I made my way up the carpeted stairs, each step heavier than the last. The hallway smelled like cleaning chemicals and something faintly floral. When I reached room 214, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The door was slightly open, not wide, but just enough to see the edge of the bed and hear something. Voices, a man's laugh, Laura's voice, soft, familiar, intimate. I didn't knock. I didn't kick the door in. I just stood there, heart pounding, listening to my wife giggle in a tone I hadn't heard in months. It felt like watching a life you thought was yours slip through your fingers. Slowly, deliberately, and then I heard a sound that made me back away from the door like I'd been punched. A baby crying. A baby? We didn't have kids. We'd been trying for years and never got that far. So whose baby was that? I stood there frozen, a million questions hitting me all at once. Had she hidden a pregnancy? Was she seeing someone long enough to have a child? Was she living a second life? I didn't go in. Not yet. I needed more. Not just suspicion. I needed proof. And I had an idea exactly how to get it. What I did next would change everything. Coming up, I followed them the next morning, and what I caught on camera left no room for doubt. I couldn't sleep that night, not after what I heard outside room 214. I lay awake in my car across the street from the hotel. Engine off, phone in hand, eyes locked on that one glowing window. Every time the curtain moved, my breath caught. Were they getting up? Leaving? Would she see me? I wasn't even sure what I wanted anymore. An explanation? A confession? Or just undeniable proof? By 6 a.m. the hotel lobby was nearly empty. The sun was barely rising, casting a dull orange light through the foggy glass. And then I saw them. Laura came out first. She was holding the baby, wrapped in a gray blanket. A tall man followed behind her. Carrying a duffel bag like this was just another casual morning. He kissed her on the cheek. She smiled like it was the most natural thing in the world. And right there, in that moment, my world cracked. I pulled out my phone and started recording. My hands were trembling, but I kept the camera steady. I needed this, for myself, for the truth. They loaded into a white Honda SUV. I didn't follow immediately. I gave them distance, but I didn't lose them. They drove through town, made a stop at a drive-thru, then pulled into a small park on the west side. A playground. She took the baby out. They sat on a bench together, laughing, feeding the child little bites of croissant. It was like watching a family, but not my family. And then I caught something on camera I didn't expect. He handed Laura a phone. She stared at the screen, then shook her head hard. Panicked, nervous. I zoomed in. She looked around quickly, her eyes darting across the park. Was she expecting someone? Or afraid of being seen? Suddenly she stood up, hugged him fast, and took the baby back to the car. He stayed on the bench. I recorded everything. The phone exchange, the tension, her unease. It wasn't just an affair. There was more going on here. And now, I needed to know who this man was. Not just a name. I needed everything, because something told me this wasn't just betrayal. This was a setup. You won't believe what I discovered when I dug into the man's identity. Keep watching. It only gets darker. I didn't go home. I parked outside my friend Jason's place and used his Wi-Fi to dig into everything I'd captured. My focus was on the man. Tall, lean, maybe mid-30s, confident posture, clean cut, someone who didn't look like a stranger to Laura at all. I uploaded a still from the video to reverse image search. Nothing. No social media profiles. No tags. No news articles. It was like he didn't exist. That's when I remembered something. A few months ago, Laura started getting weird calls late at night. She always brushed them off. Wrong number, spam, or work stuff. I let it go. But now I wasn't so sure. I logged into our shared phone account and pulled up her call logs. There was a number that kept showing up late at night. Area code from another state. The same number she answered once in the bathroom and then came out looking pale. I called it. No voicemail, no ringtone, just a robotic message. This number is no longer in service. I couldn't shake the feeling that this man wasn't just some guy she met by accident. There was a connection, a deliberate, hidden connection. I went back to the video frame by frame, zoomed in on the moment he handed her the phone at the park. There was a logo on the phone case. Barely visible, but it looked familiar. Military, a U.S. Army insignia. Suddenly, I remembered. Laura once told me her college ex-boyfriend joined the military after she broke things off. They lost contact completely. Or at least that's what she said. Could it be him? And if it was, why was he here? Why now? Why the secrecy? A cold knot twisted in my chest. This wasn't just a fling. This was history, and maybe a plan I hadn't been included in. I needed answers, real ones, but if Laura had been hiding this for months, how deep did the lie go? What happens next will shake the foundation of everything he thought he knew. Stay tuned for what he discovers when he finally confronts her. That night, I couldn't sleep. My head was spinning with questions, images, and a sharp bitterness that settled into my chest like ice. I couldn't keep speculating. I needed undeniable proof, so I did something I'd never done before in our marriage. I opened Laura's laptop while she was asleep upstairs. She rarely used it, but she hadn't logged out of her Gmail. I typed in confirmation, hotel, and reservation into the search bar. First, nothing. Then I spotted an email buried in her promotions tab, dated 3 weeks ago. Subject line, your upcoming stay at the Windmere Hotel, confirmed. My hands trembled as I clicked it open. 2 nights, king room, 1 guest. booked under her maiden name, Laura Brennan. That was odd. She hadn't used that name since our wedding, except on one emergency credit card I'd forgotten even existed, and the stay wasn't in the city she said she had business in. It was only an hour away. Why lie about where you're going if there's nothing to hide? I copied the confirmation number and checked the hotel's website, typed it in, room 408. Check-in was the same night she said she was at the corporate dinner. My heart dropped. That night, I remembered texting her and not getting a reply for hours. She claimed her phone died. Now it made sense. Her phone hadn't died. She just didn't want to be reached. I took a screenshot of everything. Then, something else caught my eye. A reply from the hotel's automated system, sent just a day before the booking. Thank you for adding a second guest to your stay. Mr. James Carson has been noted for early check-in. James Carson. The name hit me like a punch. That was the name on the military file Laura once helped me shred years ago when I was cleaning out my late uncle's records. He was a recruiter. Laura had looked pale that day, said the name sounded familiar, but she brushed it off. Was James Carson the same man from the park? It was starting to feel like I had no idea who my wife really was, and then the last thing in that email thread made my skin crawl. Thank you for choosing our romance package upgrade. Rose petals and champagne will be delivered to your room upon arrival. She booked the romance package. While I was home with our daughter, Olivia, while I was cooking her favorite dinner, while I was texting her to tell her how proud I was of her for landing that new deal at work, the one that apparently never existed. And in that moment I knew this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was betrayal, carefully planned and hidden with the precision of a double life. But if she was capable of this, what else was she hiding? Don't miss what happens next when he finally decides to follow her to the hotel. What he finds will change everything. Coming up in the next chapter. The next Thursday, Laura packed her overnight bag and told me she'd be gone for the quarterly planning session. With her team, she kissed Olivia on the forehead, avoided eye contact with me, and got into the Uber waiting outside. I smiled and waved her off like everything was normal, but I had already taken the day off work, and I had a plan. As soon as she left, I dropped Olivia at my sister's and drove straight toward the Windmere Hotel, the place from the email. I arrived an hour before check-in and parked across the street with a clear view of the front entrance. My heart pounded every time a car pulled in. I rehearsed in my head what I'd say. If I'd confront her, if I'd confront him. At 2:14 p.m., a black BMW pulled up. Laura stepped out wearing a coat I'd never seen before. Navy, expensive looking, not her usual taste. She looked around, cautious, then smiled toward the passenger side. And that's when I saw him. The man who stepped out was tall, early 40s, with silvering hair and a military build. It was James Carson. I froze. I'd seen his photo in those old army files years ago. But now here he was, in the flesh, taking Laura's overnight bag from the trunk like they'd done this 100 times before. They walked inside. Her hand brushed his lower back. He laughed. She laughed. I felt sick. I sat in my car for another 30 minutes, trying to breathe, trying to think. My instinct said to burst in, catch them red-handed. But something inside me held back. I wanted proof. I needed undeniable evidence. So I walked into the hotel lobby, pretending to be interested in booking a future event. I struck up a casual conversation with the young woman at the front desk. Then, casually, I asked, "Do you have a spa here? My wife and I are thinking of staying here soon." She was just raving about it after her recent visit. She smiled, polite but distracted. "Oh yeah, the spa's great. We just had a couple yesterday who booked a massage and the romance package. Let me see." She tapped her keyboard and then paused. She looked at me. "You said your wife just stayed here?" I nodded. "Laura Brennan," I said, feeling my mouth go dry. The receptionist blinked. Yeah, room 408. Checked in about 30 minutes ago. Do you want me to leave a message for her?" My jaw locked. No message. I walked out before I did something reckless. Back in the car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. This wasn't just cheating. This was a long-term affair. This was someone she loved. And just as I was about to drive away, my phone buzzed. A notification. Laura had just posted a selfie to her private Instagram account. The one she never let me follow. It was a close-up of her holding a glass of champagne, wearing a silk robe. Caption: when your work trip turns into something better. The background? A room with red roses on the bed. And in the mirror behind her, James was buttoning his shirt. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. She wanted me to see it, maybe not directly. But this wasn't an accident. This was arrogance. This was a message. But what kind of woman flaunts betrayal so shamelessly? And more importantly, why now? You're going to want to hear what happens when he finally confronts her. But trust me, nothing will prepare you for what she says next, coming up in the next chapter. I couldn't sleep that night. The image of Laura's smug champagne selfie haunted me like a ghost. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the smile, that cruel, satisfied look like she wanted to be caught. By morning, my exhaustion had turned into something colder. I wasn't sad anymore. I was ready. I needed to hear it from her lips, no matter how much it would hurt. When Laura got home that afternoon, Olivia ran to greet her. She hugged our daughter like everything was normal, like she hadn't just shattered our marriage in a hotel bed. I stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, heart like stone. She walked in, set her bag down, and looked at me. There was a flash of panic in her eyes, but she recovered fast. "You're home early," she said lightly. "Skipped work today." I didn't answer. I just pulled out my phone and showed her the photo, the one with James in the mirror behind her. Her breath caught, and then she laughed. "You shouldn't be spying on me, Ethan," she said, like I was the one who crossed the line. "You broke into my private account." I was speechless. She wasn't denying it. She was trying to flip the blame. "How long?" I finally asked. My voice was shaking, but I kept my eyes locked on hers. "How long has it been going on, Laura?" She rolled her eyes. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." She looked away. She leaned on the counter like this was just another argument over dishes. "I met James before I met you," she said. "He was my first serious relationship. And yes, we reconnected last year, at a conference in Chicago. It wasn't supposed to go this far. So it did go far." She was silent. That was my answer. I tried to keep my breathing steady, but everything inside me was boiling. "And Olivia?" I asked. "You brought this man into our lives while our daughter was asleep in the next room." She narrowed her eyes. "Don't make this about Olivia. How can it not be about her?" She slammed her hand on the counter. "Because this marriage died years ago, Ethan. You just didn't notice." That one hit me like a slap. It took all my strength not to shout. Instead, I asked the one question I had been dreading. "Is he in love with you?" She didn't answer. That was all I needed. But then she looked at me, tears in her eyes, finally, and said something I'll never forget. "You should be asking if I'm still in love with you." My chest tightened. I felt like someone had pulled the ground out from under me. Before I could respond, Olivia ran into the room holding her favorite stuffed bunny. She looked between us, confused, sensing something was wrong. Laura quickly wiped her face and knelt down, hugging her, and in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Laura wasn't ashamed. She was just tired of pretending, and that meant she wasn't going to stop. The confrontation is just the beginning. In the next chapter, Ethan makes a decision that will change everything, but he's not ready for what Laura has planned next. Keep watching. You won't believe what she does after this. I barely slept that night. Laura's words, her silence, and most of all, her question, played in my head like a broken record. "You should be asking if I'm still in love with you." That wasn't regret. That was a warning. By morning, I knew I couldn't live in that house another day. It wasn't safe, emotionally or mentally, but Olivia was still there, and that's what made things impossible. Laura acted like nothing had happened. She made pancakes, kissed Olivia's forehead, even asked me if I wanted coffee. I told her no, and she just smirked like she knew she was winning. I called my lawyer during lunch break at work. I didn't want a war, but I needed a custody plan. She said, "We can start building a case. But Ethan, if she's hiding something, we need proof." Proof. I already had that one photo, but I needed more. I needed something that showed Laura wasn't just a cheater. She was dangerous, reckless, maybe even unfit as a mother. That's when I remembered the old iPad in Olivia's room. It was synced to Laura's Apple ID years ago. Back when we shared everything, I checked it that night while Olivia was asleep. My hands were shaking. I opened the Photos app. Nothing at first, just family vacations, birthday parties, and Olivia's goofy selfies. But then, I found an album titled Work Trips, and it wasn't locked. My heart stopped. The first picture was Laura in a robe, holding a wine glass, hotel bed behind her. But the next one crushed me. It was her and James, in the mirror, kissing, and timestamped only 2 weeks ago. The same day she told me she was at a business conference, but that wasn't all. There was a video, and what I saw next made my stomach drop. Laura was talking to James. About me. She was laughing, saying I'd never suspect a thing. Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. If he ever finds out, I'll just say he's been unstable lately, make him look paranoid. I've already started telling people that he's not sleeping well. My blood ran cold. She was setting me up. Suddenly, everything made sense. Her calm attitude, her flipping the blame, her pretending to care. She was preparing a narrative, a version of the story where I was the bad guy. I backed away from the iPad like it was poison. This wasn't just betrayal. This was premeditated. And now I knew. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage. I was fighting for my daughter. Don't miss what's coming next. In the following chapter, Ethan makes a bold move to protect Olivia. But Laura has already taken steps he never saw coming. You need to hear what happens. The next morning, I woke up with a clear plan. I couldn't waste another day pretending. I copied the photos and videos from Olivia's iPad onto a secure flash drive, and I called my lawyer to tell her I was ready to proceed. It was time to file for emergency custody, time to get Olivia out of that house. For good, my lawyer was firm. We need to strike while this is fresh. Don't let Laura catch wind that you've seen the footage. Act normal. Play your part until I notify you it's time. I thought I could do that, but the moment I saw Laura that evening, laughing over dinner like nothing was wrong, I almost snapped. She served Olivia pasta and looked right through me. After dinner, I tucked Olivia into bed and kissed her forehead longer than usual. She looked up and said, "Daddy, are we moving?" My heart clenched. I asked why she thought that, and she whispered, "Mommy said you might disappear soon." That wasn't just manipulation. That was preparation. Laura was already telling our daughter things, planting seeds to make me the villain. And the worst part? She was calm, almost rehearsed. The next day, I met my lawyer at her office to sign the custody motion. She said we had enough. The video, the timestamps, and Laura's premeditated gaslighting could give us at least temporary custody. All I had to do was wait for the court's call. But when I got home that evening, the house was too quiet. No TV, no humming from the kitchen, no sound of Olivia playing in her room. I called out their names. No answer. I ran upstairs. Olivia's room was empty. Her closet half cleared, drawers open, pajamas gone. Panic started to rise. I checked the master bedroom. Laura's suitcase was missing. Then I saw it on the dining table, a single envelope with my name on it. Inside, one sentence written in Laura's handwriting. "You should have never looked at that iPad." My hands trembled. She took Olivia. She ran, and I had no idea where. This wasn't a messy divorce anymore. This was war. What just happened will change everything. You won't believe what Laura does next in the final chapter. Stay with us. The ending will leave you speechless. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the floor in Olivia's empty room, staring at the drawing she made of our family. Me, her, and Laura, smiling under a crooked sun. The same woman who ran with our daughter like I was some kind of threat, like I was the one destroying the family. At sunrise, I got a call from my lawyer. "There's something you need to know," she said, her voice low. "The credit card Laura used to book the hotel last week. She used it again, this time in Colorado. Colorado? I hadn't even thought she'd leave the state. But what hit me harder wasn't the location. It was the name attached to the hotel reservation. Daniel Prescott. That name stopped my breath. Daniel Prescott was not some random fling. He was my former best friend. We grew up together, built businesses side by side. until he betrayed me during a deal and we cut all contact. I hadn't spoken his name in years, and now he was registered in the same hotel room as my wife. All this time, I thought Laura's affair was just some midlife crisis, some random hotel hookup, but now it was personal. Now it was planned, and suddenly, everything made sense. The strange text messages I received months ago with no sender, the anonymous emails suggesting I wasn't spending enough time with Laura, the subtle remarks from her about how Daniel wasn't so bad after all. She was warming me up, manipulating the narrative. I didn't just lose my wife. I was set up. I opened Laura's iCloud account from my lawyer's office and went deeper than before. Hidden in the deleted messages folder, there were texts going back over a year, messages between her and Daniel, conversations about getting custody, about driving me over the edge, about pushing me far enough that I'd do something stupid, and they'd win in court. I stared at the screen in disbelief. They were never running away from me. They were building a life without me from the beginning. And then came the final gut punch. One video, just a few seconds long. Daniel holding Olivia on his lap, whispering to her, "Say goodbye to Daddy. We're gonna live with real family now." My fingers trembled as I paused the video. This wasn't just betrayal. This was erasure. But I wasn't going to disappear. I forwarded every file to my lawyer, to the court, and, God help me, to the press. If they wanted a war, they were about to see the other side of me. I may have lost my wife. I may have been stabbed in the back by my best friend, but I was still Olivia's father, and I would burn the world down to bring her home. If this story shocked you, tell me in the comments. What would you do if you were in my place? Would you go after them with everything you have, or let karma do its work? This was Chapter 10, the end of the story, but maybe just the beginning of something bigger.